Prime Minister Modi is addressing the Svanidhi Yojana beneficiaries at the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium in Delhi. He is also distributing loans under the scheme to 1 lakh street vendors today, including 5,000 from Delhi. This is the Prime Minister's 2-week project launch spree that is culminating in New Delhi. We have live visuals coming in, but the discussion will focus more on the impact of the scheme and all of Prime Minister Modi's flagship schemes in the past 10 years. The fundamental change they have managed, if any, and the overall impact of modinomics too as well. Joining us to talk more about this is Professor Madhav Nalapat, Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian. Mr. Sumit Peer, Senior Political Analyst, also joins us on the broadcast. Dr. Syed Asad Abbas, Political Analyst from Bangalore, here with us on the show as well. Last but by no means the least, Mr. Gautam Mukherjee, Senior Journalist, with us on the program as well. Professor Nalapat, I'll begin with you. Well, there's lots that happened in the past 10 years. You know, it's a palpable transformation that we have seen on the streets, be it the Shauchalayas, be it the Awas Yojana, or be it a number of other schemes that the Prime Minister has passionately disseminated over the last decade. Now, this is all, being done in a systematic way. It is not a bull in a china shop, but it's in fact, there's a method in this madness that has been shown by this government. How would you rate, the schemes that have been in fact put forth by the government and the Prime Minister, keeping in mind with where, India was 10 years ago economically and where India is today?
See, the important thing, Vineet, is confidence and hope. And Prime Minister Modi, his own life exemplifies that confidence in himself and that hope for the future. And looking at him, looking at all the various challenges that he has, basically surmounted in his own life, looking at his start and looking at the way he has steadily progressed and now progressed to a level where, frankly, internationally, he is one of the top 3 or 4 statespersons in the world. I think that has given confidence in every Indian citizen that, chalo, hum bhi kar sakta. We can also do it. I can do it. So that is the most important factor, if you ask me, Vineet. The spark, if I may say so, which motivates individuals to try harder, to work harder, to study harder. Why? Because they feel proud now of belonging to what I call Bharat, that is India. I have no problem in somebody, a foreigner, thinking of, let's say, German thinks of himself, not as a German, as a Deutschlander. A Japanese thinks of himself as a Nippongo. We in India, we should think of ourselves as Bharatiya. Let the outside world think of ourselves as Indians. But to us, we are Bharatiya. But many of us think of ourselves as Indian. And that has got a connotation of servitude that is not there in the proud word Bharatiya. So right. My point is simple.
Professor Nalapat, let me just stop you there just for a second. The Prime Minister is in fact speaking right now. We're going to cut across and listen to what he's saying.
हमारी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी की कल्पना भी मुश्किल है और कोविड के समय सबने देख लिया कि रेहड़ी पटरी वालों की ताकत क्या होती है। हमारे रेहड़ी पटरी वाले, ठेले वाले, सड़क किनारे दुकान चलाने वाले, ऐसे हर साथी का मैं आज इस उत्सव में हृदय से बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन करता हूं। आज देश के कोने कोने से जो साथी जुड़े हैं, उनको भी इस पीएम स्वनिधि का एक विशेष लाभ आज 1 लाख लोगों को पीएम स्वनिधि योजना के तहत सीधे उनके बैंक अकाउंट में पैसे ट्रांसफर कर दिए गए हैं। और सोने में सुहागा है, आज यहां दिल्ली मेट्रो के लाजपत नगर से साकेत जी ब्लॉक और इंद्रप्रस्थ से इंद्रलोक मेट्रो प्रोजेक्ट का भी उसके विस्तार का शिलान्यास हुआ है। ये दिल्ली के लोगों के लिए डबल तोहफे की तवारीख है। मैं आप सभी लोगों को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। साथियों, हमारे देश भर के शहरों में बहुत बड़ी संख्या में रेहड़ी, फुटपाथ पर, ठेले पर लाखों साथी काम करते हैं। ये वो साथी हैं जो आज यहां मौजूद हैं, जो स्वाभिमान से मेहनत करके अपने परिवार का पालन पोषण करते हैं। इनके ठेले, इनकी दुकान भले छोटी हो, लेकिन इनके सपने छोटे नहीं होते हैं, इनके सपने भी बड़े होते हैं। अतीत में पहले की सरकारों ने इन साथियों की सूद तक नहीं ली है। इनको अपमान सहना पड़ता था, ठोकरें खाने के लिए मजबूर होना पड़ता था, फुटपाथ पर सामान बेचते हुए पैसे की जरूरत पड़ जाती थी तो मजबूरी में महंगे ब्याज पर पैसा लेना पड़ता था और लौटाने में अगर कुछ दिन भी देरी हो गई, अरे कुछ घंटे देरी हो गई, तो अपमान के साथ साथ ब्याज भी ज्यादा भरना पड़ता था। और बैंकों में खाते तक नहीं थे, बैंकों में प्रवेश ही नहीं हो पाता था, तो लोन मिलने का तो सवाल ही नहीं उठता है। खाता खुलवाने तक के लिए भी अगर कोई पहुंच भी गया तो भांति भांति की गारंटी उसको देनी पड़ती थी। और ऐसे में बैंक से लोन मिलना भी असंभव ही था। जिनके पास बैंक खाता था, उनके पास व्यापार का कोई रिकॉर्ड नहीं होता था। इतनी सारी समस्याओं के बीच कोई भी व्यक्ति कितने ही बड़े सपने हो, लेकिन आगे बढ़ने के लिए कैसे सोच सकता है? आप साथी मुझे बताइए, मैं जो वर्णन कर रहा हूं, क्या ऐसी समस्याएं आपको थी कि नहीं थी? सबको थी। पहले की सरकार ने आपकी यह समस्याएं न सुनी, न समझी, न समस्या का समाधान करने के लिए कभी कोई कदम उठाया।
All right, Professor Nalapat, the Prime Minister in fact re-emphasizing the importance of street vendors and how relegated they felt and how important their role is in this, economic boom that India is experiencing. And he rightly also went on to say that the previous governments, never really formalized the help that these people required, and this is obviously going to restore their dignity once again.
Vineet, I'd like to point out when Prime Minister Modi made a remark about samosas and how much of ridicule he faced as a consequence of that. What is wrong with people who are, were doing the work of producing that delicious food for other people? It is an occupation. A country like Germany, for example, a country like Australia, you have individuals who are carpenters, who are electricians, who are plumbers. They are given the same respect as professors. They are given the same respect as officials. And why not? In India, we have a tradition. If you work with your hands in some way, yeah, well, you are subclass. You're not really, anyone to bother about. The fact is, working with your hands is as important as working with your brain. Can you imagine what would happen to those who do a lot of their work with their brain if there was nobody working with their hands? So Prime Minister Modi has shown the dignity of labor, the dignity of every kind of labor. And in that process, I'd like to say that's an important message. No matter what the work you do it sincerely, you do it well, you do it for the benefit of society, you are an asset to society.
Sumit Peer, your thoughts? And, Professor Nalapat brought out a very important, a very poignant, thought from the past that working with your hands, something that the Prime Minister also referred to as a form of employment, was, nationally criticized, obviously, perpetrated by the opposition as well. But here he is, making sure that the people who in fact are contributing to the economy, little by little, are also honored and revered.
Vinny, thanks for having me on this show. It's a very important point because when it comes to Prime Minister Modi, what you can think is always those revolutionary ideas. For example, when he talked about the, Swachh Bharat, people made fun of him. Shauchalay, the people said, "Arey, Lal Kile se kya ye Shauchalay ki baat karte hain?" When he talked about this, Ayushman Bharat, people made fun of him. When he talked about the Mudra Yojana, Drone Didi, when he talked about this, giving this, loans to the street vendors, people made fun of him. Even the revolutionary ideas like CA, people had to make all the fun of him. But the time has proved that these revolutionary ideas are not only looked up by world, but they're also trying to be copied across various parts of the world. If you look, China copied our idea of Swachh Bharat. They're exactly doing what we're doing in Swachh Bharat. So these ideas, for example, if we talk of, there was a time people used to go to, things, I don't want to say how to say it, but I have to say it, around the railway tracks. Railway tracks in India were synonymous for something else. But that things changed when you have 25 crore toilets built. What he calls it, the Samangar for our mothers and sisters who could not possibly afford those. So when these kind of revolutions happen, for example, take example of these street vendors, we need the lending rate for these people from money lenders is 5 to 10% per month. And it might compound to 12 to 13% if they don't pay in time. And who is going to give the money? If they want 50,000, they get 10,000. Most of the life they are still caught in that Hindi mein kehte hain biyaj ka cycle. They will never get out of this cycle. Now imagine as somebody doing a theli patri ready and he getting 1 lakh rupees, he can really enhance his business. And what is wrong in theli patri, Vinny? You and me outside your office, how many times do we go out to have a cup of tea? You and me have done it numerous times. We have a chai and matti outside your office and say theli wala, and we have no shame and nothing. We respect that as we respect somebody who is running a big great hotel. I mean, we are the people who go out there. I'm telling you on national TV, Vinith, you and me. So why these people don't have dignity? Why these people are not given the dignity? Why these people will eliminate it? And these people are also contributing to a GST. These people are also contributing to a society. They are working hard to make a living and they're helping people like us. Why that dignity of labor was not there? If you don't have the Jandan Aadhaar and mobile, if you don't have digital India, Vinith, all these things could not happen. You could not give these loans. Nobody talks about the 25 crore people who are given Mudra loans. Nobody talks about the crore of people, Reddy Patrawala, who was given this 1 lakh rupee ka loan. People thought nobody will return a Mudra loan, and 98% people have returned the Mudra loans. Those 65% among women. So when these things go at the grassroots level, they change the society at a fundamental level. Now that is how you have been able to take out 25 crore, around 25 crore people from poverty. That is how this magic happens. That's how you are adding the fastest growing class.
Okay. Let me also get a response from Dr. Abbas as well. Dr. Abbas, is it the right time to call Prime Minister Modi the people's Prime Minister? Right from the high up echelons of, the economic corridors to, the bottom of the contribution pyramid. He's facilitating everyone. And like Sumit Peer also said, the Shauchalayas And, some of the other yojanas that he's taken up, even the Awas Yojana, which is a huge hit, have really benefited the poor, which actually did not exist or perhaps was paltry in its effectiveness when the UPA was around.
We need some, I think during the opening of the debate, Professor Nalapad Saab spoke very beautifully about being a Vixit Bharat. I think for every Bharatiya today, myself, Mr. Gautam Mukherjee, Sumit Bhai, you as well, Vineet Bhai.
Sumit also
I
mentioned
think
CAA. Sumit also mentioned CAA. I also want you to respond to that.
Certainly, sir. Vixit Bharat is the way to go. Also, my dear friend Sumit Peer mentioned about, opposition not being able to tandem that. I would say, Sumit Bhai, कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना. I think the larger way to go, like I've already quoted Shashi Tharoor, when the government in power is doing good work, we always need to come ahead and appreciate it. And of course, when we need to criticize, we need to do the same. Well, my opinion of the CA has always been that having an Indian constitution enshrined with the secularism principle, Article 14 of the Indian Constitution, which speaks of equality before law, how is it that the government in power, the Bharatiya Janata Party government, makes a law which is indeed brought about on the religion? Of course, I would certainly be responsible and tell you that when it comes precisely, CA does not snatch away anybody's citizenship, any citizen of India. It is about giving citizen to persecuted minorities of Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Let me put it out there very, very clearly. But the fact we need to understand, how could you make a law based on religion? Why is religion a test, a participle to give citizenship? That equally amounts there. Not just that. Also, as a matter of fact, our Sri Lankan Hindu brothers are being persecuted in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is not a country here. Myanmar, many of the Rohingyans are doing wrong ones to our Hindu brothers in Myanmar. That is not tallied here. Nepal is not tallied here. But why only 3 Islamic countries? That is my bone of contention there. That will always be my reservation there. But when it comes to Awas Yojana, I stand by it. Ayushman Bharat is a great scheme, a revolutionary in the health sector of India.
But Dr. Abbas, these are persecuted minorities, non-Muslim minorities that are being given, a second chance in India. So obviously there's logic behind this.
Of course, but Ahmadiyas, Hazras are not even considered majority or Muslims by Pakistan. They do not come under the realm of CAA. So that is also a question to point out to.
But the Pakistanis have not been able to accommodate the Ahmadiyas, in their own backyard. Why should they be expecting India to do so?
They are most persecuted, Vineet Saab, even more than Hindus and Sikhs, Jains and Parsis and Christians. Ahmadiyas, Hazras are being bombed, killed, brutally murdered. That has been a bone of contention many a times in the CAA debate. Shias, Ahmadiyas, Hazras, so on and so forth. But also, why only the 3 Islamic countries? Why not Nepal, Myanmar and Sri Lanka?
Okay, we'll go to Gautam. Before that, Sumit wants to come in quickly. He wants to respond to you. Sumit, quickly, 30 seconds, then we go to Gautam.
First of all, you have to understand, there the persecution is based off minorities, and that too because of religion. You are persecuted because you're a Hindu, you are persecuted because you're a Jain or both. That is the point, which is the logic is there. So if Muslims within the Muslim society, let's say Hazaras are Muslims, Muslims are Muslims, within an Islamic state, how can a Muslim be persecuted? Because you're an Islamic state, by definition you have declared yourself as an Islamic state. If and Muslim is persecuted within an Islamic state, that is a law and order problem which they have to handle. While as Hindu is only persecuted because he's a Hindu, there's nothing else to do. That's point number one. Second point we need here is that if even those persecuted, let's say there's a Hazara there in Pakistan, if he wants to apply for the Indian citizenship, there's a due course he can apply. People like Adnan Sami, they're Pakistani, they're Muslims, they've got the citizenship. So there is not a rule that Pakistani ko Muslimano ko citizenship nahi denge. Only this fast track route is not available for them, they have to come to the normal route. And by the grace of God, Muslims have 57 countries to choose from. They can go wherever. And as far as the question of Hindus is concerned in Sri Lanka or elsewhere, I am saying that the next logical step of, say what I'm demanding should be for any persecuted Hindu across the world. I think that will be a next logical step to follow. Like Israel by default is the home for any persecuted Jew across the world. Similarly, India should be the home for any persecuted Hindu across the world. For Christians, by the grace of God, 150 countries. Muslims, 57 countries. But for Hindus, there's only one country. So you have to look.
Okay, let's get a response from Gautam Mukherjee on this as well. Gautam, in context to the Yojanas and of course the contribution that the Prime Minister feels on behalf of the government that is very, very important for this relegated class, how would you respond to the argument that we have just had, which was obviously highlighted by Dr. Abbas and then of course responded to by Sumit Peer as well, about CAA?
Well, the purpose of CAA is to help those Hindus, etc., of the minorities in these Islamic countries which are specifically being persecuted. To try and extrapolate this by saying, why aren't the Muslims being included? Well, all of these countries are declared Muslim countries, and it is really their pigeon. We have our own 200 million Muslims, and we look after them on equal par with any other citizen. And that is the way we like to do things. Now, if Pakistan, which is an Islamic country, is going to bully its own Muslims, I don't see what India can do about it. If one Indian Muslim wants to go to Pakistan, he's not allowed to do so. So what are we crying buckets for Pakistani Muslims of any shade who are being persecuted by Pakistanis? It is their business and not ours. Vinny.
Dr. Abbas, would you like to respond to that?
Certainly.
And then we go to Professor Nalapat on this as well.
Also, I must tell you this. I was listening to Advocate Abhinav Chandrachud's debate on the same front. He raised some very important question. Well, why 2014 being the year, if you really want to give it to? Why not before or after? Also, as a matter of fact, how and when did religion become a test participle in giving citizenship to anybody? Which even my dear friend Sumit has not answered, neither Gautam Mukherjee Saab. Why is it that religion becomes, why not on a humanitarian grounds? Why Ahmadiyas and others aren't persecuted accordingly? They're also persecuted like
Okay. Let's get Professor Nalapat to respond to your queries. Professor Nalapat, how would you respond to what Dr. Abbas is saying, that why is this based on religion and why not for people who have come after 2014? Why this cut off?
Vineet, I'd like to point out that I have read the Quran multiple times, and I would like to say that those who brand Ahmadiyas as infidels are basically guilty of something that, in my view, will lead them straight to the gates of hell. The fact is that the Muslim religion has been grossly misinterpreted by ignorant fanatics, if I may say so. And unfortunately, much of that fanaticism is now being taught as the message of the Holy Quran, whereas that message is entirely different. Ahmadiyas are, frankly, it's the simplest thing in the world to become a Muslim. All you have to repeat is one line, and you are a Muslim. That's the only test the Quran prescribes. And every Ahmadiyya has passed that test. So calling them apostates is a crime against the Holy Quran. So I'd like to make that point very, very clear. Let's not, fool around. Those states that call themselves Islamic states, they are states that are every day flouting the tenets of the Quran, every day, in every way.
All right, Sumit Peer.
Yeah, the point here is that these minorities are persecuted because they are Hindu or they are Jains or they are Buddhists and Sikhs. You look at the percentage of these before the partition, after the partition. You look at the percentage of Muslims in India before the partition and after the partition. At the time of the partition, make it a benchmark. There is no comparison. Point number two. Secondly, how come there's a problem in the world, Vineet? There are so many countries. There's a problem in Palestine. There's a problem in Gaza. There's a problem everywhere in Muslim countries. But why is it that no Muslim country is even willing to take one Muslim as a refugee in their own country? While they look to Christians, they look to Hindus, they look to everybody else. But when it comes to their own people, none of the Muslim countries is willing to even take one Palestinian. They're refusing to take anybody. But they want the United States of America to do it, Germany to do it, Japan to do it. They expect India to do it. And thirdly, they will not do it themselves. Third point is For Ahmadiyya or anybody, he can follow the normal route, he can apply, and as per the course of the law, as I mentioned about Adnan Sami and all, he can get the citizenship. Where is it written in India, if you're a Muslim and a Pakistani, you will not get the citizenship of India? It is not the case, because they will get the citizenship of the India. Here we are trying to save people from being hunted like cats and dogs and eliminated. That is what we are trying to do. That is why there's an urgency. The people who can come in the normal course can come in. Now, for example, there are a lot of people who believe, for example, they say Shias are not Muslim. That is absolutely crap. Who gave them the right for Pakistani to say Shias are not Muslims? Who gave them that right? You can't be only a Sunni Punjabi to be a Muslim. That is what the Pakistani mindset is. But that is a problem within the Muslim.
Okay, all right. We've run out of time. We've run out of time. Dr. Abbas, quickly, 5 seconds.
Pir sir beautifully made that point, sir, especially about the Muslim front. I completely accept. But the fact is, still you have not answered why from the year 31st December 2014 does it come through? You've still not answered Article 14, equality before law. How can a secular nation constitution make a law based on religion, and religion being a participant of giving citizenship? Your question remains unanswered. Also, why not CA in Nepal? Why not in Myanmar? Why not Sri Lanka? Why only those 3 Islamic countries?
Because they have a majority. They have more Hindus who are persecuted than any of these other countries, Dr. Abbas. Perhaps that's the logic, right?
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.